Here's another Recercada by Diego Ortiz. This is Recercada Primera, and I think it's one of my favourites in the collection. It's beautifully simple, but really very effective. It's got a kind of soporific effect of the ground bass going round, and it's a kind of not very hard working, but very beautiful line that gets knitted over the top. One of the main questions, I think, in here, one of the things to consider, is the top note that we play is a top D. We don't go any higher than that. And it comes quite frequently. It's part of this soporific feeling, is that it keeps coming up to the top D and going back down again, and it kind of never makes it higher than that pitch. And the question is, do you keep coming back to the open top string, or do you keep coming back to a 4 on the A string, or do you do a little bit of both? There's not really a right or wrong answer to that. There are just different choices. And I think for today, I have decided to go mostly for the open top string and just occasionally for the 4. And one of the main reasons is that the key of this is G minor, and there's something really satisfying and really harmonically successful about being able to play the whole of the G minor chord. And you quite often get little motifs in here that are built chordally. It's nice to be able to put each of the notes on a different string, whereas if you cover that top one, you can't keep the B flat sounding because it's on the same string. And there are quite a few occasions where I think the effect of having several strings resonating is a nice one. There's a couple of places where I think the 4 is a better choice, but it's essentially, I mean, if we leave them all as open strings for today, and you decide by the time you've played this piece and got to know it a bit that actually you're already fed up of hearing that top string, and there's perhaps a couple of grounds that you might decide you want to play maybe a bit less dynamically, and you choose to put a 4 there instead. So let's start with lots of open strings, and you can refine it as you go along, and that's fine. There are more than one, definitely more than one way of doing this. So try things out and see what you think. But we're going to start on the top string, nice and steadily. So we'll go minimums doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Shall we stop there and look at that much? So you can see already what I mean about that top string being such a featured sound. Even in the 3rd bar, it's just nice to have them on different strings, I think. So I'm in half position fingering wise, bowing, I'm right at the tip, and I'm making that first theme fall away a bit. So I'm making sure that I've got really good contact with the string. It's quite a slow bow, and not speedy, but I'm not aiming to make a tiny sound, just a concentrated sound. But that A, by contrast, has very, very little body to it. Much, much less pressure on the hair. Just fits nicely in half position. And you can just look after that B flat, can't you? At the beginning of the 3rd bar, just not too much on there, so that there's plenty on this. Now I would put a 1 on the D at the bottom, so that you can play the A with a 4. Hold the G down, and then enjoy this harmony that is starting to build up here, of having those notes on different strings. And that's a great bar, isn't it? 7. Lots of contact on the B flat, fall right away on the G. Then I think you need another back bow at the end of this bar. That's bar 7, the last minim. And by the time you get there, here again is this effect of having all of those notes on different strings. It's just building up this beautiful G minor resonance in the instrument. So I'm in half position. Hold down everything you possibly can. Let that A just disappear, really enjoy. Tiny little quavers and they're going to be right at the tip. Good contact for this. And I think in these crotches, be careful that they don't just sound kind of static. Plenty of bow. Very, very relaxed over here. Don't wave about too much. Just kind of free. And we'll stop there for a second. In bar 15, I'm back in first position. Just find it much easier to find the B natural down there with a 3. Much prefer that to finding it with a little finger and staying in half. Shall we go from the top? Now really, I would think this in 2 rather than 4 minims. I'm actually thinking 1, 2, 1, 2. So I'll count you a bar and 1 in, and we're going to think it in 2. 1, 2, 1. Should we go on? And I'm going to go for the top string again. Second. So back in bar 17, top string, but then here 2, 4, 2. I don't think it needs that amount of activity in the string cross, but maybe here an open A string. Look after that G, hold it down, and again 2, 4, 2. So although I'm going frequently for the top open string, and we played an open A in 20, I'm also just looking for places where, especially when the line turns round on itself, I'm trying to avoid unnecessarily active string crossing. So that gets us to 23, the end of the bar. And then I think you need a back bow on this. And if you play it in half position with a 2 on that D, by the time you get to the top D, look, you've got the whole chord outlined and everything's still ringing on. And you can just use more bow per note, with the top one being the most glorious sounding of the lot. And then it can fall away, can't it, to the open A string in 26. Fall away again, hold the G down, hold the B flat down, and now you've got that whole chord outlined again. Now here, I would change my mind here and do 2-4. For the same reason we did that to finger the A with a 4 a few bars ago. Just, it's a bit active across the string. So that's in 29. 4th finger for the D. And the same here. At the end of 31. Should we play that together? Let's play that section through. So this is bar 17, starting on the top D. So I'll count you a bar and 1, and we'll start on that top D right at the tip. And I'm really plenty of bow. I'm not going for a loud sound. I'm just trying not to be restricted, I think. 17 coming up. 1, 2, 1. Otherwise we'll just get caught up in the whole, you see what I mean about it being hypnotic, it just sort of rolls on and it's quite difficult to find convincing places to stop. But I'm going to forget what I was going to say if we're not careful. So this is 32. We're back in half position. And this is the sort of place where you might find that eventually you don't want all of those top Ds to be open strings. You can decide that for yourself as you experiment a bit later. Just make sure you're holding down as many fingers as you possibly can. That. Look after the quavers here a bit. So keep the G down when you cross the string. I know it's only a quaver, but actually because it's only a quaver, it's even more important that you don't take your finger off it as soon as you've played it. That's at the end of 34. And again, you've got this whole G minor chord outlined there. 36. Let's play this in first position. So there's a 4 on the crotchet A in 36. And here, look. Again, that whole chord. Those notes go down at the start of 39. And they stay there for 2 whole bars, don't they? Let's go. I've lost track of which way round the bowing is here. We're going to go from 32, and I think it's a back bow, but I've lost count, so we'll try it and see what happens. 1, 2, 1. A couple of things to think about in there. So 40, we've got this whole G minor chord going, but 41, I think, just because the crotchets are turning round on themselves, I play the C with a 2, stop the D, and then we're back into half position again. There's a lot of places here where I want the first minim of the bar to have a kind of lift to it. And what I'm doing is making sure that I get the string to speak to start with. But by the end of the minim, the string is already going and the bow is just kind of riding on the note that's already there. I'm not really playing by the end of that minim. I'm just moving the bow and letting the sound that's already started, just kind of letting it out. If you sit on the string, then you stop it. So the momentum keeps going in whichever direction you're bowing in, and the sound just kind of comes out. And then you put the weight of this hand, your right hand, back onto the string for the second note of the bar. I hope that makes some kind of sense. It's very difficult to articulate what you think you're doing with one hand and to put it into words, but I hope that makes some kind of sense and you can hear the difference between that and that, and that gives you some idea of what I think is going on. I'm going to play from the end of 39. So here we are with a 4. That's one of those lifted minims, isn't it? And here. Top string. Now for anybody who's wondering about this triple bit, the idea is that the person playing the ground underneath makes no change at all. So the speed, the half bar stays exactly the same, and you split your half bar into 3 rather than into 2. So the pulse of the ground is not going to change. There will still be 2 notes from the ground in each of those triple time bars. Hope that makes sense. We'll see when we put the ground with it. Let's play, I'm going to go from the crotchets at the end of 48. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So rhythmically, the speed, the pulse of the half bar does not change. Let's just look at the fingering in the triple time. All of that on different strings. But then I think of 4 for this is 52 for second A. And here I'm not sure about that. So that's 53. I think I would keep all of those crotchets on the A string by playing 2 on the C, 4 on the D. And again, by the last bar, the penultimate bar, I'm back into first position because I just don't like finding that B natural with a 4 down there. And there are convenient open strings to move on, aren't there? So I'm back in first position by the time I get to the end. Let's try some of that out. I think we should go all the way back, actually, to the end of 39. The end of 39. So I'll count 2 and we'll play the final minim tied over into 40. 1 and 2. let's play it through then. But while we're playing, let's have the ground going so we get an idea of what it's going to sound like. And I'll play the ground through the speakers, and then you and I can play the solo part together. And then we'll do it again, and I'll play the ground myself and leave you to it with the solo part. So the ground is going to play once through so that we get the speed, and then it will carry on and we can put the solo part in together. Here it comes. It's really beautiful, isn't it? It just has such a soporific and very, I don't know, hypnotic sort of feel. I really do like this one. So this time then, if I leave you to it on that solo part, I'll play the ground myself, and I'll do what we've just done that time. So I'll play you a whole round of the ground to start with, so that you get the mood, you get the speed, and then I'll play it enough times for you to play the complete solo part over the top. Here we go.